Hey guys, and welcome back to the theBSofSociety. So this one's going to be another long one. Sorry. Um, Grab a snack. Okay. Um. So far for normal battles, we've basically covered the basics of capturing enemy headquarters. Um. Deploying your echelons. How you get action points to be able to move. The whole strength thing and the affection and all that, right? So, oh, and I've also talked about the farming for T-dolls, um, and basically making sure that you can S-rank stages for high rarities, and I also covered the issues with the rates and blah blah blah. Okay, recap over. Um, there's a few special mechanics that show up, especially in event stages, that you should probably keep note of because it's not always just capturing enemy headquarters. I would say like 95% of the time in Girls Frontline, you'll be capturing enemy headquarters, but some of these events, um, like there was one during a summer event where I basically had to capture a marked node that acted like an enemy headquarters because the map was basically split on the two sides. One side was harder, the other side was easier. And the easier side was basically the one that I went down to capture the enemy node. And, you immediately win the map, just like if you capture enemy headquarters. There's some maps that, might have some objectives within the map, but those are, I noticed that some of those are situated around enemy headquarters as well. But, like one of them I think was like activate a gate or whatever, and you basically would capture the gate node and you're done, right? Um, then there's another one that I'm currently farming on, where you basically have to capture a supply line node, and I thought it was just capture that node and then hold it for an X amount of turns. No, you have to capture that node and then link it to your headquarters and then defend it for 3 rounds or however many rounds the game wants you to defend it for. And I guess if the line gets broken, the entire like amount of turns that it was held for gets reset. So this map that I'm farming on, basically you have your headquarters and then it's basically surrounded by a bunch of nodes, right? Basically on all sides. So I'm take a 3x3 grid, put the headquarters in the middle, and then the rest are nodes. Um, Above the headquarters and to the left and to the right, there's a heliport, right? And the enemies basically have 3 heliports that you can't get to capture. Um, on some events, I'm not sure about normal mode, but there are some like directional like ways to get to a node, and you can't get to it if the arrow is not pointing in the direction. If it's a dotted line, you can go in either direction. If you see arrows, you can only go in the direction that the arrows are pointing. Right. So you have these 9 heliports that enemies are coming out of, right? So you basically capture the top heliport because there's no enemy on that one. You deploy another unit on your headquarters, and then the next turn you basically capture the other 2 heliports. You basically hit one heliport, you put in another unit, you hit another heliport, and then you put in your fourth unit. That fourth unit is the one going down the supply line. Now, by then you basically have 8 moves on the third turn, right? You move down, which basically, you basically have to move down basically 2, right? Or if you did what I did, you basically move down 1, move to the left, and then move down 1, and then um, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think either way, you still basically end up with only having 3 moves left. which is basically enough to deploy another unit if you have 5 echelons, and then move 2 spaces. So you don't have enough space to be able to establish a supply line without losing one of your own nodes. Okay, now the objective or the S rank objective of this stage is to basically establish that supply line for 3 turns and finish the stage within 6. I do not see a way to finish that stage within 6 without having a really hard time defending those nodes. I mean, I guess if you captured the heliport on the left and then deployed a unit and captured the one on the right, that would give you a decent amount of moves. And then you can move basically down with that one or something. I don't know. But this is one of those stages where you don't want to try to S rank it to farm for the, event unit, right? Because of how stupid the stage is set up. I don't know who set it up, but there's no way to S rank that stage, or at least not to my knowledge, right? So, basically it's important to keep in mind these like special victory mechanics, and it's very important to pay attention to how you win a specific stage. Um, that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this little bit is basically that, and it kind of goes directly into night missions as well because not all stages are just capture the enemy headquarters. Some stages you have to do something different in order to be able to win. And that's like this stage specifically is basically a battle of attrition because your units are constantly being bombarded by enemies while you defend a supply line for 3 turns. And this is one of those stages where you basically have to have like 4 to 6 echelons to be able to even do the stage. And you can't deploy friendly units to help out. So you're kind of screwed in being able to do it because I can't imagine trying to do this stage with only 2 units because your headquarters is pretty much completely surrounded by enemy units. I don't see a way to be able to establish a supply line for 3 turns. Considering the fact one of those heliports pretty much points directly to one of the points that you'd be able to capture to establish your supply line. Dear game devs of Girls Frontline, why did you make a stage like that? Like that is like the most painful stage that I've ever had to do on any game. Just to be able to S rank it or even do it. I am glad I'm a budget player because I wouldn't be able to do that stage if I wasn't. Thanks for making a almost impossible stage for free to play players. Anyways, um before we get into night missions, let's cover combat sims because combat sims still act more like normal stages. So, combat sims use sim energy, right, which is the same thing as your stamina and resin. For an easy stage, it's 1 combat sim energy. For a medium stage, it's 2, and for the hard stage, it's 3. So basically, you can do it, 2 to 6 times per day, right? There's 3 basic ones. You have enhancement capsules, which basically take the place of using T-dolls and T-doll enhancement. They basically give 1 point to each uh, stat instead of just like 1 here and 1 there, right? Like T-dolls do. T-dolls, you usually need about 3 or 4 to be able to increase a stat. That you only need 1. The enhancement capsules, you only need 1. Um, so they're pretty good to use, and I got plenty of them now, so there's really not much of a problem getting them. Um, and then you have a data mode, which is basically used to increase your skills. This one's the only one where you can kind of do all 3 of them at the beginning of the game, right? Because you basically need the basic ones for like the first four skill levels, and then it goes to the second one into the third one, right? The third one you get the least of. Um, and then you have XP mode, which is basically a big source of XP if you can actually do the stage. Um, and the first stage gives you 20,000 XP total. The second one does 80,000 XP total, and then the third one does 240,000 XP total. So per sim energy, you can get up to 80,000 XP total, um, which is pretty good. Um, and then we have some special sim battles. You have Neural Cloud, which I don't think you can unlock till Commander level 60. Um, so you don't really have to worry about it at the beginning, but basically this like neural cloud mode or whatever allows you to mod some of the T-dolls to increase their level up to level 120. Because the maximum level for like 90% of the T-dolls is 100. And doing this allows them to go up to 120 and gives them a second skill after the second mod. So you can get, a lot more power um, doing this mode. And like I said, you don't unlock it till level 60. And then there's one more, which is like a defense drill, which give you calibration tickets. Calibration tickets are used to calibrate your equipment, and it's kind of important to do this one when you can get the chance. I forget how to unlock it. I think you have to unlock calibration before you can do this one, which I believe. Yeah, I forget how to unlock it, but yeah, and the game will tell you how to unlock it. But this one is important to do, and basically what defense drill is essentially doing a bunch of rounds. You basically go wave by wave through enemies, and basically whatever wave you end on, that's what determines the rewards you get. So currently, I can get basically 35 calibration tickets pretty easily, and it's not a bad stage. However, you use 5 sim energy per attempt, and this stage allows you to have 4 echelons with you at a time. But once you have to withdraw anybody, whether they all die or you withdraw, um, the attempt immediately ends. So make sure you're kind of switching out your echelons, and you should be able to do the stage as many times as you want. And then there's a, kind of like a freebie one where you can basically set up target dummies, just to kind of test your damage throughout your T-Doll team, or where you can test your damage throughout, your echelons. Um, this stage is just to do for fun. I mean, it's really nothing special. If you want to hit like a leaderboards or whatever, that's where you do it. And then there's a new sim battle, which is the one for the newer units, the new enemy units. Um, and that one uses 3 all the time. And you can do any of the 3 any day of the week, but there's usually one, or on Sunday all 3 of them that have like a double up. So it's usually a good idea to do the one that's gives you double, for obvious reasons, right? Now, this sim energy isn't associated with the sim energy for the rest of them, right? So you can do both of them every day. And that also goes for the sim energy that you can buy from the shop. They're both separate. So, and I think they did that because a lot of people were holding extra sim energy, and this was an easy way for them to just split it up. And like all of the stuff you get from data mode and XP chips and all of that, you can't use on the newer units, which which is kind of annoying. I don't like it when gacha game companies make it a point to make new stuff just to make new stuff. I mean, they're both T-dolls. Why do you gotta make different stuff with them? Whatever. They make the game more grindy, so hey, gives me more time to play the game, I guess, right? Now this is where we can finally get into night missions, right? So, night missions are kind of interesting. You don't have command points anymore. You have heliport points. Not only that, but the game mechanics kind of work almost entirely differently in night missions. Um, so you basically have heliport points. You can't see the enemies at all. And there's these nodes called radars. Radars allow you to basically see the nodes next to the radar when you have it captured. Um, Now, the only way you can basically see nodes that are next to your T-dolls, and by see, I mean basically see of the enemies on it, right? Because all of the enemies are basically invisible. And the objective of night missions is to defeat all of the enemies before you hit the turn limit. Night missions have a turn limit, right? And once you hit this turn limit, you basically fail the mission. If you don't kill all the enemies. So it's essentially a battle of attrition. Now, another thing with night missions is you can only deploy a certain amount of echelons. So keeping in mind that you have to have at least one echelon in the field is very important. Also keep in mind that you have to be able to see a heliport point in order to deploy more echelons. So having at least one handgun in every echelon is a good idea. I personally didn't do that, and it's kind of biting me right now because I don't feel like adding a handgun to any of my echelons. And, like, I would love to have the original AR team to not have to have a handgun. So, yeah. Basically, your first echelon that you deploy in a night mission, you have to make sure it's a handgun or it's the only echelon you're deploying. Because once you move off the node, you basically can't see it anymore. The only other time you'd be able to deploy again is if you manage to find, or if you manage to get a radar that's next to a heliport point. So, this mechanic I obviously hate because it's like, just let me deploy. I mean, why do you have to see the node, right? The enemies I can understand because it's nighttime, you can't really see well. So the handguns let you spot enemies, but why do I have to see a heliport point in order to deploy an echelon? It feels like a really dumb mechanic. And as for the turn limit, I feel like they barely give you enough moves to actually defeat all the enemies. Like, even the very first night mission, you basically only get like 3 turns, and you barely have enough moves to actually defeat the enemies. And it makes it worse that you don't know where they are. And then they move in any direction that they please. So, you can't just plan out your movements like you can on a normal mission. And so it makes it really, really hard to farm these stages. Now, these stages, what you get off of them isn't T-dolls. You get equipment that you can use to put into your other equipment for your T-dolls, right? So it's kind of important to farm these stages, not so much. And these stages are a good source of armored units, which is for one of the achievements, which gives you more equipment contracts, which can allow you to get, your stronger equipment, right? If there's anything else I forgot about night missions, I'll cover it in the next video. I'll probably just recap though. And with that, I'll talk to you guys later.